The market doesn't want you to win until you become someone who can't be beaten. Every day, millions of people sit down in front of their screens and enter the same war. They have charts, indicators, maybe even a so-called edge. But the moment the market opens, something happens. The plan they rehearsed vanishes. Their conviction cracks, their hand shaky. And just like that, the market eats them alive. Here's a fun fact. 95% of day traders lose money. Not 50%, not 70%, 95%. That's worse odds than a casino. At least in Vegas, they give you free drinks while they rob you. Most think trading is about finding patterns, a magic indicator, the perfect entry. But what if I told you that the best traders in the world don't obsess over setups? They obsess over themselves. The truth is, you're not trading the market. You're trading your beliefs, your ego, your trauma. The market isn't your opponent, it's your mirror. It doesn't punish you, it reveals you. And that's exactly why so many people lose. But here's what they don't tell you. The world's most legendary traders weren't born different. They didn't have magic systems or crystal balls. They just got tired of lying to themselves. They faced their fear, their arrogance, their greed, and they used the market to burn all of it away. In The New Market Wizards, Jack Schwager interviewed the top traders alive. Men who made tens of millions, not by being right, but by becoming resilient. Some were school teachers, others were math nerds or ex-poker players. None of them were naturals. But they all had one thing in common. They transformed. This is not a tutorial. This is a blueprint for identity alchemy. You'll meet the trader who made a fortune by fearing losses. The man who learned to lose so well, it became a competitive advantage. The intuitive genius who trusted his gut because it had seen 10,000 charts. And you'll discover why your best edge might be the pain you've been trying to avoid. So if you've ever rage quit the market, if you've ever chased a candle that burned your account, if you've ever thought, why do I keep doing this to myself? This story is for you. Because the truth is, the market doesn't want you to win, not until you become someone it can't destroy. Insight 1. The market is a mirror. The market is not here to make you rich. It's not here to confirm your predictions or reward your intelligence. The market has no opinion, no memory, no mercy. What it does have, every single second, is a perfect mirror. One that reflects everything inside you, your hope, your fear, your desperation, your arrogance. Most people never see it. They think they're analyzing price action, when in reality, price action is analyzing them. Jack Schwager's interviews repeatedly return to one idea. The people who make it in this game don't just know charts, they know themselves. They've studied their patterns, their impulses, their inner chaos. One trader said, "I realized I was chasing trades the same way I used to chase validation as a kid." Another confessed, "I was trying to beat the market the way I used to try to impress my father." Think about that. How many of your trades are emotional reenactments? How often do you hold too long? Because letting go would mean admitting you were wrong. How often do you size up? Not because it's smart, but because you want to feel powerful. The market doesn't care about your feelings, but it will show them to you. And if you're paying attention, it becomes the greatest therapist you've ever had, because it never lies. You blow up an account, that's not the market's fault. That's your unresolved impulse staring you in the face. One of Schwager's most powerful moments came when a trader explained why he started journaling, not his trades, but his emotions during each one. Over time, he saw patterns, not in the market, but in himself. Fear always showed up after 3 losses. Greed always kicked in when he saw a friend post a gain. He learned to anticipate his inner signals better than any technical indicator ever could. The real breakthrough came not from prediction, but from observation. These traders didn't eliminate emotion. They respected it, studied it, disarmed it. And when that happened, trading became a performance, not a panic. Now ask yourself, what if every trade you make is a test, not of strategy, but of self-awareness? What if your biggest edge isn't a new system, but finally seeing what the market has been trying to show you all along? And if that idea resonates, just wait until you meet the trader who embraced fear so deeply, it became the foundation of his empire. Insight 2. Why the best traders are cowards. The best traders in the world are cowards. They're not bold, they're not reckless. They don't bet the farm. In fact, the higher the stakes, the smaller they trade. It sounds backward, doesn't it? But in Schwager's interviews, time and time again, this pattern emerged. The top traders didn't win by being brave. They won by being afraid. Tony Saliba made $8 million from a $50,000 account trading options. But when Schwager asked him how he did it, his answer wasn't about setups or volatility curves. It was about risk control so obsessive it bordered on paranoia. He would walk away from his screen mid-trade if something felt off. He'd reduce position size after a win, just to guard against overconfidence. And if a trade ever started to feel too good, that was his cue to get out. Then there's Tom Baldwin, one of the largest bond traders in the world. People expected him to be aggressive. He moved thousands of contracts in minutes. But beneath that surface was a mind wired for defense. He didn't chase wins. He anticipated danger. His size, carefully calculated, his losses, ruthlessly cut. Here's the paradox. Amateurs think courage means holding on. But professionals know real courage is letting go. Letting go of bad trades, letting go of pride, letting go of the need to be right. One trader told Schwager, "Every time I start getting confident, I size down. I want to feel like I could lose because that keeps me sharp." That's not cowardice. That's mastery. You see, most people enter the market seeking reward. They're chasing thrill. But the pros, they're scanning for threat. That's what keeps them alive. That's why they last. It's like walking a tightrope over a canyon. The average trader looks at the view. The great trader watches the wind. A normal person feels good after a win and bets bigger. A master feels suspicious after a win and protects their capital because the real danger isn't loss, it's hubris. Here's a joke from the trading floor. What's the fastest way to make a small fortune trading? Start with a large fortune and no risk management. So if you've ever told yourself, I need to take more risk to grow, think again. What if you don't need more courage? What if you need more fear? What if the voice you're ignoring, the one that says, slow down, is the one that turns you into a legend? Because in trading, bravery doesn't make you rich, survival does. But what if I told you, even surviving isn't enough? If you're trading someone else's system? Insight 3, there is no holy grail, only personal edge. Every losing trader has one thing in common. They keep searching for the perfect system. They bounce from strategy to strategy. RSI this week, Fibonacci next week, maybe some Wyckoff next month. And every time it fails, they say the same thing. It worked for someone else. So, what's wrong with me? But here's the twist. Nothing's wrong with you. What's wrong is the question. Because as Jack Schwager discovered after interviewing dozens of trading legends, there is no one-size-fits-all strategy. These traders didn't follow the same system. They didn't use the same indicators. Some were ultra-technical, others trusted gut feelings, some scalped tick charts, others held positions for months. The only thing they shared was self-knowledge. Take Mark Ritchie, a trend-following trader who turned $30,000 into millions by riding big moves over time. He told Schwager, the key is to find an approach that fits your personality. That's it. Not what works on paper, not what backtests well, but what fits you, your psychology, your pain tolerance, your emotional rhythm. Contrast that with Linda Rashka, who made her fortune in fast-paced intraday trades. For her, long-term positions were psychological torture. Holding trades for weeks wasn't wrong. It was just wrong for her. See the pattern? The Holy Grail isn't a system. It's alignment. Alignment between who you are and how you trade. But that requires honesty. And most people avoid that. Because it's easier to copy someone than to confront your own wiring. Easier to follow a signal than to admit your risk tolerance is paper thin. Easier to blame a strategy than to ask, am I even meant to trade this way? Here's the metaphor the Schwager never said, but it's true. Trying to force someone else's system onto your brain is like borrowing shoes 2 sizes too small and trying to run a marathon. Painful, awkward, and guaranteed to fail. So, what's the solution? Stop chasing what's working right now. Start studying yourself. Journal your emotional triggers. Track your comfort zones. Notice when you feel flow and when you feel panic, and then reverse engineer a strategy that fits that. Because the traders and the new market wizards didn't win because their systems were better. They won because their systems were tailored to their inner world. One trader put it perfectly. I spent years looking for the Holy Grail outside. Turns out it was inside me all along. I just had to dig through a lot of BS to find it. So, if you've been feeling like a failure for not getting it, Here's your permission slip. You don't need to get someone else's system. You need to build one that fits your soul. But that takes time, and often that process begins not with success, but with pain. Insight. Far. They blew up, then became millionaires. Every trader has a scar. Some just wear it better. Before they became legends, the market broke them, humbled them, humiliated them. And in those moments, when their accounts were empty and their confidence shattered, they had to make a choice, quit or transform. Jack Schwager didn't just interview success stories. He interviewed survivors. And what he uncovered was a hidden pattern nearly every market wizard had once blown up. Not just lost a little, not just had a bad week, full-blown devastation. One trader confessed to losing $600,000 in a single afternoon because he refused to cut a loser. Another got greedy, doubled down, and watched months of gains vanish in minutes. But none of them blamed the market. They blamed their mindset, their ego, their illusion of control. And that's when something strange happened. Their real journey began. It wasn't the profits that made them great. It was the pain. Because pain broke the fantasy. It shattered the illusion that they were smarter, faster, invincible. And in the ashes of that collapse, they rebuilt, but this time with humility. Bruce Kovner said it best. The worst thing that can happen to a new trader is to win big on their first trade, because early success breeds delusion. But early failure, that builds character. Schwager's interviews are filled with traders who only started taking risk management seriously after the market punched them in the gut. One blew up 3 times before creating strict stop-loss rules. Another kept a photo of his biggest losing day next to his screen, as a reminder of what arrogance costs. You see, in trading, pain isn't just feedback, it's curriculum. Every blown account is a lesson in disguise. And if you survive it, really survive it, not just financially, but mentally, you don't come back as the same person. You come back reborn. It's what Joseph Campbell called the dark night of the soul. In mythology, the hero must descend into the underworld before he returns with the treasure. In trading, the underworld is your worst loss, your panic, your shame. But make no mistake, what separates the amateurs from the masters is who keeps walking. One trader told Schwager, "I lost everything at 25. By 30, I was a millionaire. The difference? I stopped fighting the market and started learning from it." Another said, "My worst day became my best teacher. Now I keep that memory close, not to torture myself, but to remind myself how far I've come." So if you've blown up before, good. That means you've started. The market has initiated you. Now the question is, will you run from the lesson or rise into it? Because on the other side of that loss is someone new, someone who doesn't fear the market anymore, because they no longer fear themselves. And once you've faced that pain, you're ready to learn the most surprising skill of all, how to lose like a winner. Insight 5. Losing is a skill. Nobody tells you this when you start, but the traders who make the most money are the ones who've mastered the art of losing. Sounds insane, right? But inside the new market wizards, the lesson is everywhere. Losing isn't just a consequence of trading. It's a skill set, one that separates those who survive from those who spiral. Because everyone loses, but only the best know how. One trader Schwager interviewed described losses as tuition. He said, "The market charges you to learn, but most people drop out after the first semester." That one line says it all, because amateurs treat a loss like a verdict, but professionals treat it like data. Take Marty Schwartz, one of the most consistent traders Schwager studied. He turned 40,000 into 20 million over his career. His rule? If the market starts to go against you, don't rationalize. Don't hope. Don't wait. Get out. Reset. Move on. He had no emotional attachment to being right. He just wanted to trade well. And trading well meant losing fast. Contrast that with the average trader, clinging to a sinking position, telling themselves, it'll bounce. Every tick against them feels personal, and before they know it, a tiny paper cut has turned into a gaping wound. But here's the truth Schwager exposes over and over. Losing is inevitable. Prolonged losing is optional. The greats didn't avoid losses. They absorbed them. They expected them. They even welcomed them, because a quick loss means you were disciplined. A small red trade means you followed the plan. A stopped-out position? That's respect for risk, not failure. In fact, some of Schwager's most elite traders even had low win rates, some under 40%. But they made millions. Why? Because when they won, they won big, and when they lost small. That's it. The entire math of elite trading in one sentence. Maximize winners, minimize losers, survive long enough to repeat. So, why is it so hard? Because ego hates loss. Because childhood programming says failure and shame. Because social media only celebrates green days. But the market doesn't care. It demands your humility. And until you give it, it will take everything else. Here's my favorite trading joke. What's the difference between a new trader and an old trader? The new trader thinks every loss is the end of the world. The old trader knows it's just Tuesday. So, here's the shift. Start seeing a good loss as a win, a quick exit as a victory, a trade you walk away from as a sign of strength. Because in this game, the trader who loses best eventually wins biggest. And once you learn to lose without fear, a strange thing happens. Your intuition starts to awaken. Insight 6. Intuition is earned. We love the idea of the trading genius, the savant who just knows. No charts, no signals, just instinct. But here's what the New Market Wizards reveals. Intuition isn't magic, it's memory. Over and over, Schwager's interviews expose the truth behind the myth. Traders who rely on their gut didn't start there, they earned it. They built their intuition through years of market exposure, emotional conditioning, and brutal pattern recognition. Their instinct isn't a guess, it's a silent summary of 10,000 trades. Bruce Kovner, one of the most legendary traders ever, who turned 3,000 into 300 million, described it like this. There's a point where you start to feel the rhythm. You can't always explain it, but you know something is off. That's not superstition. That's subconscious synthesis. His brain had absorbed so much market behavior, it could signal danger before his conscious mind caught up. And this isn't just poetic, it's biological. Neuroscience calls it implicit learning. It's how athletes sense momentum shifts, how musicians anticipate chord progressions. The human brain, when exposed to enough reps, can develop a finely tuned radar that feels more than it thinks. But here's the catch. You only develop real intuition after years of feedback, and you only get that feedback if you're paying attention. Journaling, reviewing, feeling your wins and your losses, not numbing them. That emotional imprint becomes your edge. One trader Schwager spoke to said he would narrate the market aloud while watching it. I'm seeing price stutter. I feel buyer hesitation. Volume doesn't confirm the breakout. He wasn't just watching, he was teaching his nervous system to interpret. The problem? Most beginners confuse intuition with impulse. They feel a rush, a hunch, a vibe, and they act. That's not intuition, that's adrenaline. True intuition has no urgency. It's quiet. It doesn't yell. It whispers. And it's almost always preceded by a long, painful apprenticeship. The kind where you trade for months without understanding why something works. Until one day, the fog clears. One trader joked, I spent 5 years earning the right to trust my gut. Before that, my gut was just hungry. So, if you don't trust your gut yet, good. That means you're honest. And if you want to build it, start by mastering the boring stuff. Track every move, review every trade, speak your thoughts out loud. Because what feels intuitive later is built from what you do intentionally now. And once your instincts begin to sharpen, you'll face a new danger, the temptation to size up. But as you're about to learn, confidence can be just as deadly as fear. Insight 7. Size kills confidence. It's the most seductive moment in trading, when you feel untouchable. You've just nailed 3 trades in a row. The setups were clean. Your timing was perfect. The market moved exactly how you imagined. Your confidence? Peaking, your logic, buzzing with dopamine. And then a thought creeps in. This next one, I'm going bigger. That's the moment most traders die. In the New Market Wizards, again and again, Schwager surfaces this theme. Confidence kills more traders than fear ever could. And nothing feeds overconfidence like size. One legendary trader put it bluntly. The fastest way to end a winning streak is to bet like you deserve one. Another said, when I feel good, I start getting scared. That's when I know to reduce size. Why? Because size doesn't just amplify profit, it amplifies emotion. You might think you're calm, collected, disciplined, but increase your position 5x, and suddenly every candle feels like a punch to the chest. Your breathing tightens. Your time horizon shrinks. The plan dissolves. You're no longer trading the chart. You're trading your survival response. And here's the twist. Big size feels logical when you're winning. You think, I've earned this. But what you've actually earned is the right to stay consistent, not the right to break your own rules. Schwager tells the story of traders who were brilliant for months until they let confidence distort their process. One oversized trade, one unexpected reversal, one lapse in humility. And just like that, they erased $2 million in profits in a single afternoon. It's not the market that did it. It was them, betrayed by their own belief that they were in control. True professionals treat position sizing like bomb disposal, precise, conservative, never taken lightly. They understand that the goal is not to get rich fast. It's to stay in the game long enough to get rich slow. One trader even had a rule. I size down after a win, never after a loss. Why? Because it guards against ego inflation. Because when you feel most confident is often when you're most vulnerable. Here's a Wall Street saying, bulls make money, bears make money, pigs get slaughtered. So here's your shift. Instead of asking, how much can I make? Ask, how much pressure can I handle before I self-sabotage? Because the greatest risk isn't the market. It's the version of you who shows up when the money gets too big to breathe. But if you can master that version, if you can trade small with a big mind, you're ready for the deeper layer of this game. The one that has nothing to do with charts and everything to do with your soul. Insight. The market is a spiritual dojo. Most people think trading is about money. It's not. It's about awakening. Behind every position size, every stop loss, every green candle is a deeper question. Who are you becoming? Because the market doesn't just test your strategy, it tests your character, your patience, your discipline, your truth. In The New Market Wizards, Schwager doesn't frame it this way directly, but read between the lines, and you'll see it. Every trader's journey is a spiritual initiation, not with incense and robes, but with red days, sleepless nights, and the slow death of the ego. One trader described it like this. After a while, I stopped trying to beat the market. I started trying to beat myself, the worst parts of me. That's what this really is, a confrontation with your shadow, your need to win, your fear of being wrong, your hunger for control. The market brings it all to the surface. Every trade is a mirror, every loss is a teacher, every rally is a test. And just like in martial arts, trading teaches through repetition. You don't become enlightened after one meditation, and you don't become a master after one winning streak. The lessons are learned in the trenches, in the painful consistency of showing up, watching your flaws get exposed and not looking away. You learn detachment. You learn humility. You learn presence. You realize you can't force the market, just like you can't force life. You start to let go, not in a passive way, in a powerful way. You act without needing. You execute without chasing. You accept without collapsing. One trader said, "The moment I stopped needing the market to validate me, I started making real money." That's not just a financial breakthrough. That's a spiritual transformation. And it's not just you. Every wizard Schwager spoke to had undergone this internal shift. They didn't just evolve their tactics. They evolved their identity. They went from reaction to response, from control to flow, from fear to stillness. The market didn't change. They did. Here's a Zen koan for traders. Before enlightenment, buy low, sell high. After enlightenment, buy low, sell high. The actions look the same, but the person taking them, completely different. So ask yourself, what if every losing trade was actually an invitation? What if the thing you're fighting isn't price, it's your past? What if this whole game is rigged not to make you rich, but to make you real? Because in the dojo of the market, there are no belts, no trophies. Only one prize, the version of you that emerges after you've surrendered everything you thought you needed and found peace in the discipline itself. And once you reach that point, once you stop obsessing over outcomes, you'll finally understand the most sacred rule of them all: process over profit, ritual over result, identity over income. Insight 9, process outcome. If you watched a great trader work, really watched, not just the entries and exits, you might be surprised. They don't look excited. They don't look anxious. They look boring. Because the best traders in the world aren't chasing outcomes. They're honoring process. In The New Market Wizards, this theme echoes again and again. The moment a trader falls in love with results, they start to betray the one thing that brought them success: consistency. And consistency only lives inside the process. One trader put it like this: I stopped caring if I was right. I only cared if I followed my rules. That's not detachment, it's discipline. Because if your identity is tied to being right, the market will break you. But if your identity is tied to showing up with precision, no win or loss can shake you. This is where trading becomes ritual. You wake up at the same time, scan the same setups, place the same risk-managed trades. Not because you're robotic, but because you respect the rhythm. You trust the routine. You understand that edge is not about magic. It's about repetition. One of Schwager's interviewees described a day where he followed his system perfectly. Every exit, every stop, every confirmation, and still lost money. But he went home smiling, because that was a perfect day. The market didn't reward him, but the process did. His confidence stayed intact. His identity stayed stable. And that's the magic. When you follow the process, your self-worth stops fluctuating with your P&L. Most traders, they win, they feel like gods. They lose, they feel like garbage. It's emotional whiplash. But when you fall in love with execution, your psychology becomes bulletproof. You stop needing validation from the market. You start generating it internally. This is how elite traders can lose for days and still show up with clarity. Because their process is the anchor, their habits are the hedge, their consistency is the cushion. Think about it. Would you rather have a system that wins big but you can't replicate, or a system that wins steadily because you've become predictable? The market thrives on randomness. Your job is to be the one consistent thing inside that chaos. Here's what one trader wrote in his journal: bad day for the account, great day for discipline. I'll take it. So if you've been riding the emotional roller coaster, try this. For the next week, rate yourself not on profits, but on discipline. Did you follow your rules? Did you execute cleanly? Did you avoid emotional trades? Because that's the real scoreboard, not your gains, but your growth. And if you can live inside your process, something strange happens. You become flexible. You stop holding on. You start flowing. And that's when you learn the paradox at the heart of mastery. Conviction must dance with surrender. Insight 10. Conviction must dance with surrender. Most traders think they need conviction to win. Strong belief in their setup, their thesis, their red on the market. And they're right, but only halfway. Because conviction without flexibility, that's not strength, that's suicide. In The New Market Wizards, Schwager uncovers a surprising trait among the most successful traders. They hold their ideas lightly, they act with boldness, and they reverse instantly if the market proves them wrong. There's no pride, no doubling down, no arguing with the tape, just pivot. One trader put it perfectly: I'm always confident in my trade until I'm not. And when I'm not, I'm gone. That's the paradox. Deep commitment paired with instant detachment. This isn't indecision, it's dynamic balance. A mindset where you believe deeply, but not blindly. You trust your system, but not your ego. You stay open to what the market is saying, even if it contradicts your conviction. It's like martial arts. The moment you stiffen, you lose flow. But if you're all softness, you get thrown. True mastery is both, firm and fluid, structured and supple. Schwager tells the story of traders who made fortunes by being wrong fast, not by avoiding mistakes, but by exiting them before they metastasized. One said, "My biggest edge? I change my mind faster than anyone I know." This is terrifying for most people. Why? Because we're taught that changing your mind is weak, that backing down means you're not confident. But in trading, stubbornness is the fastest path to destruction. Markets change, setups fail, news drops, momentum vanishes. And if you're still clinging to your perfect thesis, you're trading yesterday's conditions. So, what does this look like in practice? It means predefining exit criteria and following them, even when it hurts. It means reevaluating your bias every day, not to flip-flop, but to stay honest. It means never falling in love with your trades, because the market sure doesn't love you back. One trader Schwager interviewed said, "Every time I get too attached to a position, I force myself to size down or walk away. Attachment is the beginning of blindness." Here's a trading proverb: strong opinions, loosely held. That's the essence. Hold conviction like a sword, and surrender like a monk. Because in this game, flexibility isn't a weakness, it's a superpower. And when you master that paradox, you stop needing to follow anyone. You stop searching for gurus, because you've learned to trust the only expert that matters: your evolving self. And that's exactly what the next insight reveals. Why the greatest traders don't want followers. They want you to become your own master. Insight 11, the anti-guru principle. If you came to the new market wizards looking for the one trading system to rule them all, you'll leave disappointed. But if you came to find your own inner compass, this book might change your life. Because after interviewing dozens of the world's greatest traders, Jack Schwager discovered something strange. None of them trade the same way. Some scalp, some swing, some follow fundamentals. Others follow nothing but price. Some are calm, calculated, others are aggressive and intuitive, and yet they all win. Why? Because they aren't looking for someone else to tell them what to do. They've become their own authority. This is the anti-guru principle, a radical departure from the internet culture of follow my signals, buy my course, copy my trades. The real wizards don't sell magic formulas. In fact, they'd probably run from the title guru, because they understand that what works for them might destroy you. One trader told Schwager, "My system only works because it's built for my mind, my emotions, my weaknesses." That level of self-knowledge isn't something you download. It's something you cultivate through trial, through loss, through observation. And here's what most people miss. The moment you outsource your decision-making, you also outsource your growth. You avoid the very friction that would have made you powerful. This doesn't mean you shouldn't learn from others. It means you have to process what you learn through the filter of who you are. You extract principles, not prescriptions. Think of it like music. A great jazz musician doesn't copy licks. They absorb them, play with them, twist them until something new emerges. The style becomes a vessel for their voice. Same with trading. The strategy is just a skeleton. You supply the soul. Schwager noticed this too. When he asked each trader for advice to beginners, many said the same thing. Don't try to be me. Try to be you, at your best. One even warned, if you're blindly following someone, you're not trading. You're abdicating responsibility. Here's the uncomfortable truth. 97% of trading course buyers never become profitable. Not because the courses are bad, because they're looking for someone else to save them. That's the real wisdom. Freedom doesn't come from following better leaders. It comes from leading yourself. So, here's the challenge. Stop looking for perfect systems. Start looking for inner signals. The ones that tell you when you're aligned, when you're rushing, when you're lying to yourself. Because once you do that, you stop trading like a student and start trading like a sovereign. And that's when everything changes. Because at that level, you're not just playing the game. You're becoming someone the game was never designed to defeat. Which leads us to the final insight. The moment where trading stops being something you do and becomes who you are. Insight is 12, becoming your own market wizard. By the end of the new market wizards, one truth becomes inescapable. These traders weren't born different. They became different. They didn't have magic. They had process. They didn't have superpowers. They had self-awareness. And most of all, they didn't wait to be chosen. They chose themselves. Every single one of them started the same way, confused, insecure, uncertain. Some came from music, others from science, a few from poker or business. None of them were financial prodigies. What they were was relentless. And what transformed them wasn't the market. It was their response to the market. Because here's the secret. Schwager never says outright, but every page whispers it, trading is just a container for becoming who you were always meant to be. These wizards, they didn't just find edge, they found identity. They learned to sit with discomfort, to move through fear, to rebuild after collapse. They faced the parts of themselves that most people spend a lifetime avoiding. And in doing so, they didn't just grow as traders, they grew as humans. You can see it in their humility, their detachment, their quiet confidence. These aren't gamblers. These are warriors of awareness. They know what moves them. They know when to walk away. They know what's worth risking and what isn't. One trader put it beautifully. The market was just the stage. The real drama was inside me. So, here's the question you've been avoiding. Are you becoming someone who trades, or are you becoming a trader? Because there's a difference. Trading as a task is external. Trading as an identity is internal. And once it's internal, everything changes. You no longer need to chase hype. You no longer crumble after a loss. You no longer confuse randomness with rejection. You start to see your growth in how fast you cut losses, in how calm you are when others panic, in how little you trade when there's no edge. That's the new scoreboard. That's what it means to become your own wizard. not by mimicking someone else's spellbook, but by writing your own, one mistake, one adjustment, one awakening at a time. Because the real edge isn't technical, it's psychological. And the final form of a true trader isn't someone who beats the market, it's someone who no longer needs it to feel whole. Remember what Paul Tudor Jones said, "I'm always thinking about losing money as opposed to making money. Don't focus on making money, focus on protecting what you have." That's not just trading wisdom, that's life wisdom. So if you've made it this far, you already know, you don't need more tips. You don't need another guru. You need to trust the process of becoming you, the version that the market can't shake, can't break, and can't ignore. And now, all that's left is to act. Your next trade isn't a position, it's a decision. You've just heard the 12 insights that built some of the greatest trading minds in history. But here's the truth. Insights don't change your life. Integration does. So let's reflect. You learned that the market is your mirror, revealing not just price patterns, but your deepest patterns. You saw that the best traders aren't fearless. They're paranoid. They survive because they respect risk more than they crave reward. You discovered that there is no holy grail, only systems that fit the truth of who you are. You realized that pain isn't a punishment, it's a passage, and the best traders have all walked through it, burned, broken, and reborn. You learned that losing is a skill, intuition is earned, and size is a silent killer. You saw how trading becomes a spiritual dojo, a place to confront your ego and rewire your identity. And finally, you understood that the real transformation doesn't come from copying someone else, but from becoming your own market wizard. Now, I want you to do something powerful. Comment the insight that hit you the hardest. Not just for me, not for the algorithm, but for you. Because when you type it out, you activate memory. You give it form. You take a thought and turn it into a commitment. Was it the moment you realized fear could be your edge? Or that your biggest loss might become your best teacher? And if you're ready to go deeper, join the tribe. Subscribe, share this with a fellow trader who's been stuck in the cycle, and start a conversation. Because we grow faster together. Remember this, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity. And the market always knows who you really are. So make your next trade a step into that identity. I'll see you in the next chapter.